Happy Wednesday, Corporate Misfits. Welcome to the Corporate Misfit Podcast, episode 66. I'm your host, Brittany Darrington, founder of the Corporate Misfit Club and business strategist for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start, launch, and grow their business. I am so excited for today's Wednesday strategy session because we are chatting with social media expert Chloe, who is the founder of Heart Media. She's going to be sharing with us how to master social media in our business and also within our personal brand. After working in the corporate marketing world for several years, Chloe decided to start Heart Media with the intent of women to become profitable on social media. She works with female entrepreneurs who have been on social media, but they're not seeing the results that they feel like they should be seeing. She also works with them to help establish their goals and also create a digital footprint to ultimately pave their path on social media. She specializes in working with female entrepreneurs because of their unique challenges growing their business. And she also has found that social media is the best way to do that. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk all things social media.
You're listening to the Corporate Misfit Podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Chloe, thank you so much for joining me on the Corporate Misfit Podcast today. I'm so excited to have you and share your wisdom about social media today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, social media is a beast. And I get so many DMs and comments and questions of people asking me just how they can leverage social media to grow their business. And a lot of people think right off the bat that they need to have a million followers or 100,000 followers or whatever in order for them to take their business to the next level. And what I train and what I coach is a mindset shift, really. And it's to think so much bigger and to think so much deeper than just the number of followers that you have and your engagement rates and your likes and your comments. I really try to get people to think about how they can leverage social media to convert not just their followers, but convert their audience into actual paying customers. And I teach my clients how to implement various strategies and campaign tactics in order for them to really get the most out of their social media presence and to take advantage of their social media presence.
Wow, this is so amazing. And I'm so happy we're talking all about this because so many people are worried about the algorithm. They're worried about how much should I be posting, or how do I actually turn my business from social media into an actual business and start generating revenue. So I'm so happy we're talking all about this.
Yes.
But how did you become a corporate misfit? So many people always wonder how people got into the world of entrepreneurship. So can you share with us how you got into the world of social media and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I love this story because my short and quick answer, it was an accident. So I have worked for various marketing agencies. I worked for 2 large professional service marketing agencies, which is where I got my experience within marketing, my experience within social media. The last marketing agency I was working for, I'm located right outside of Los Angeles, and I was working for a large agency located in Boston. So I was working remotely. And so I didn't have that one-on-one in-person connection. I never met my team in person. I never met my boss in person, which maybe could have led to me getting laid off. But nonetheless, I got laid off of my job. And I had a split road decision. I either could have looked for another full-time job, or I could have taken the skills that I learned and the experience that I had developed over the last several years and start catering to these people all on my own and, basically taking the business direct. And I thought about it for maybe 24 whole hours. I gave myself a day, if even that. And I came to the decision after talking to friends and family that it was the right decision to just grow my own business. I had been in marketing for several years. I was confident in my skills. I was confident in my experience. And working for larger agencies, I was working directly with the CEO at both large agencies. So I really got to learn the business side of things, which I think gave me my confidence. I literally started DMing people free social media audits and seeing how many bites I got. And within my first day of being laid off, I signed my first client. So I knew that I was making the right decision.
That is absolutely amazing. And I love hearing how you became an entrepreneur by accident, because I hear this a lot actually, where so many entrepreneurs who might have been laid off in their prior corporate world and they decided to take that leap. So I love that you decided to pick yourself up and figure out, how can I do this on my own?
Thank
So
you.
how did you identify who you wanted to work with? Because social media, there are so many different people that you could possibly work with. So how did you identify your niche and who to focus on?
That's a good question. When I first started, I was probably a little bit more broad, just because I, at that point, I don't want to say desperate for business, but if I didn't get business, my rent wasn't getting paid at that point. So I kind of was just taking really anybody. I was focusing on women, but if men or like male dominant companies came to me, I would still work with them. But I did decide to tailor to female entrepreneurs. And my reason is that the marketing agencies that I worked for, the 2 different marketing agencies, were very male dominated. There was more men in both of the companies. And then the companies we worked with at those agencies were all male dominated companies. I mean, I maybe worked with like 5% females. And so I don't know if I was necessarily thinking that there was more male business owners out there and that they were getting special attention that female entrepreneurs weren't. I don't know if that was really the case, but I just felt like I wanted to come up with solutions for females. And because of women's unique challenges growing their business, I felt like, social media is really a good way for them to get their messaging out there. It's a good way for them to find their ideal clients, that I wanted to offer a solution specifically to women. So now that my niche is more granular, not only do I target just female entrepreneurs, but I focus on service-based business.
I love it, because I think that so many women need help, and also service-based businesses need help because they have other things to focus on. And why not pass that off to someone who can be an expert and do that well? So one of the things that a lot of us do is we start our personal social media account, and we might even build that. But then when we're ready to start a business, we have this like debate. Should I continue building my personal account, or should I just focus on turning this into a business account or setting up a whole new business account? Mm-hmm. So what is kind of the difference between a personal and a business account when it comes to social media?
Sure. So I definitely think to start off, building a personal brand is probably the smartest thing that you can do. And even in the event that you do branch off and have a business account, I still think that you should continue building your personal brand. Depending on who your target audience is, depending on the services that you offer, the answer probably could be a little bit different. But I will say that a personal brand is going to have more power than a business page. And not only have I learned that through trial and error, but I've seen it happen with many clients. When I, for instance, was starting my business and when I was growing my business, I started personally and then I branched off to a business page. And my conversion rates when I was on my personal page was, I want to say, probably 3 times higher than being on a business page. And it's because as a personal brand, you have that intimacy, you can connect, you have a little bit more value to provide, because I think there's that relatability factor where people see your face and they see you talking and they feel like they can connect with you, opposed to a business page. They don't really know who's on the other side. I make a really great effort to teach my clients and for myself to show up personally, even on your business page, pop up every once in a while saying like, hey, I'm Chloe, I'm the founder, blah, 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 just so that people can feel that sense of connect and that intimacy factor. But in the event that you do want to branch off to a business page, I would say create a business page when it's not just you anymore. When you start to have a team, that's kind of a good factor on when you should branch off and have a business. But nonetheless, a really good example like Jasmine Starr, for instance, she's a huge social media guru and she has businesses and she has business names out there and websites, but she doesn't have separate accounts for them. She solely keeps it just herself. And she's done a really great job at building her entire business around her personal brand.
Totally agree. I absolutely love Jasmine Star. I'm in her social, I forgot the name of
Curator.
it. Yes, I'm in her social curator program. So I
But like that's
absolutely love
amazing.
it.
She doesn't have like a marketing page for social curator. She has just her personal one, and she markets social curator on her personal page.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned building your personal brand, because those are people who already know you, and you're not having to sit and continue to educate them
Mhm.
into regards of who you are. So I really love that you mentioned that, because you can do both, but
Mhm.
you can also still keep up with your personal brand to keep those people who are possibly willing to want to work with you or learn more about what you're doing, keep them up to date and abreast of what's happening. So I love that.
Exactly. And as a personal brand, it's easier to collaborate with other business owners or other like-minded individuals, which is a really good way to increase your brand exposure. Whereas, I mean, you can obviously still come up with clever and creative collaborations as a business, but it's easier to do those collaborative projects as a personal brand.
Absolutely. Now, you've worked with the corporate world, and I know a lot of corporate companies, especially when social media was just coming out, it was kind of like a joke. They were like, I don't need to be on social media. I don't need to hire somebody to handle this and keep it up to date. Now, social media is like a must for
Yeah.
any and every company.
Yeah.
So, do you still feel that the corporate world and corporate industries need to be convinced in investing into social media? And is it right for their business?
That definitely will come down to the industry and the niche and where their target audience is. I always recommend to do an audience targeting exercise where you're diving really, really deep into figuring out who your ideal client is. Wherever they are is where you need to be. So if your client is, let's say maybe ages 60 to 65 female, they're probably going to be on Facebook opposed to Instagram. And if you're targeting millennials, they'll probably be on Instagram opposed to Facebook. I do think it's important for almost every industry to have a presence on social media, but it really will just come down to what that industry is and, like I said, where their target audience is.
Absolutely. What are some of the most frustrating things that you are seeing nowadays with businesses when it comes to social media and how they behave on social media?
Oh gosh. I think what has slowly started dying, so to speak, is influencers and certain people on social media portraying this perfect lifestyle, and their hair is always done and their house is always clean and whatever. I think it's becoming a lot more common for people to be showing the behind the scenes, the more raw stuff, the personal stuff. I try to make a really great effort on my account. If I'm having a bad day in my business, if I had 10 sales meetings and only one person signed out of those 10 people, I put that on social media because it's relatable. People relate to it and people connect to it, and people feel like, okay, wow, I'm not the only one, and it's not portraying that perfect lifestyle. So I would say when there are those few people trying to portray that perfect lifestyle, I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things for me, because it makes for other people feel like they beat themselves up because they're like, oh, that's not me. I can never do that. Or certain people think they can't even be an influencer because they don't have time to get ready every single day. When the story is these influencers are taking photos once a week or maybe once every other week, but making it look like they're doing stuff every single day. And so that's something that gets a little frustrating. And then on the client front, when I get clients coming to me saying, I want 10,000 followers, I want 100,000 followers, when all they care about is followers, that's something that's a little frustrating for me as well, because I have to get them thinking followers don't mean money in the bank. Followers is a vanity metric. Followers is monopoly money, and it does not always mean success in your business.
I love that you said that, because I see so many people who are so adamant on having millions of followers or following people who are building this like perfect, beautiful life and like nothing's wrong. It's so annoying, and I get it. It can be so frustrating. Okay, so what do you tell the people who are feeling like, okay, I don't have a lot of followers, but I'm trying to figure out how do I have enough people who are following me so they can learn more about my products, but I'm not necessarily worried about 10,000 or 25,000 or 35,000 or whatever. How do I get people to go from the gram or go from Facebook or go from LinkedIn to my business? How do I turn them from monopoly money to actual revenue?
That's a good question. Probably my most common answer that you're going to hear me keep repeating is knowing your target audience. If you know who you're targeting, if you have that ideal client, you're speaking to their pain points, you're speaking to their challenges, you're speaking to their hobbies and their interests, and you're literally speaking to this exact person, they're going to find interest in what you're saying and what you're talking about, especially if they have challenges and pain points and you have a specific solution for their problems and pain points. Then they're going to read your captions and be like, oh my gosh, this is me. This is 100% me. She's speaking exactly to me. They're obviously going to wander to your website and learn more about you and see what you have to offer. So I always preach, whether it's with me or it's on your own, to do an audience targeting exercise, a buyer persona exercise where you map out your buyer to a T. And a good way to do this is to take a look at your past clients or current clients and see if there's a commonality between all of them. See if there's a certain trend between their problems and challenges and pain points, and see if there's a certain trend between the platforms that they're hanging out on, or maybe the content that converted that customer. Is there a commonality between those content pieces so that you can start to duplicate your efforts?
I love this because that's so true. Knowing who you're serving and knowing how to connect with them is so important. And it makes the whole process easy, because sometimes social media can feel overwhelming. And then we start to get frustrated because we're like, are we talking to crickets? Are we actually making an impact? Is anything happening on the other side of this phone or on this computer? So consistency is another common question that so many entrepreneurs have. They're like, I'm trying to build my business and now I'm having to spend all this time on social media. How or what tips would you recommend helping entrepreneurs to be more consistent and actually show up without adding on too many tasks to their business?
Yes, another favorite question of mine. This comes down to planning. So you're going to want to plan all of your content pieces. I try to do mine a month in advance, and I try to preach my clients on doing a month in advance, but I understand that certain things come up and they can't do that. So at least 2 weeks if you can. But this is going to come down to the planning stage. So you're going to want to plan out whether if you have a product launch happening or a course launch, or you have a new service that you just dropped, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to promote those different products and services. So planning out your campaigns, planning out your content, finding the content you want to that you want to be posting. I do 2 phases of planning. I do a content calendar type of planning in Trello. If you've heard of Trello, it's a project management tool. So I do my content planning in there, where I plan out my content concepts and caption concepts, but not the actual final post. The final post then gets planned in later. So I might be wanting to post XYZ on Monday and ABC on Tuesday, but then in later, I don't like how those images are looking together because I'm all about a good aesthetic. So then I'll kind of move the images around once I get into later. But the what's going to be live and what's going to be actually published is what is planned in later, and then kind of just the rough concepts in Trello. This is especially important if you have a team or you have a freelancer or an intern that's doing the content planning for you, because then they can plan out the content on a calendar or in Trello or wherever you decide, and then you can kind of approve it or make tweaks and feedback there, and then it'll get planned in later, or Planoly or whatever tool you decide to plan out your content.
I love it. And I love all the tools you mentioned, because that is so true. If you can plan ahead, it makes your life so much easier. That's with like anything, but planning ahead in social media, especially if you're feeling that overwhelming feeling. Okay. So how do entrepreneurs know when they need to hire someone to handle their social media? Because, there comes a time where you're trying to grow your business and maybe social media is not your expertise or something that you even enjoy. So when do you know if it's time, or when should entrepreneurs be outsourcing someone to do their social media?
2-part answer to this. So if it's only the actual content creation and publishing that you feel like you don't have time to do, then I definitely think as soon as you realize that you're not posting anymore and you literally simply just do not have the time, then go ahead and outsource. I think that you should be showing up every single day on social media. And if you feel like you simply just do not have the time to show up every single day, then definitely outsource. If you feel like you might be able to create the content and post, but you don't have time to engage, you can hire an intern or a freelancer to simply just do the engagement portion for you without hiring bots, without hiring an automated system. Find a real person to simply reply to comments and DMs, and to find your ideal target audience through hashtags and stuff like that, and they can engage. If it's the strategy piece where you feel like you simply just don't have the know-how, maybe you have the time, but you don't have the know-how, and you feel like your current efforts on social media aren't converting, or your current efforts on social media are not getting you where you want to, then definitely look into outsourcing your strategy. A lot of people can push buttons, a lot of people can create content, but not a lot of people can put together the strategies, because in that strategy is where your efforts are really going to show. Your strategy is where you're really going to get your followers to convert into actual paying customers.
That is so true. Because anyone can create content, anyone can post a picture for you, but actually coming up with that strategy behind it is so powerful and important. And that's how you can actually see the clients go from Instagram, Facebook, or Pinterest, or from LinkedIn to your actual website and going to your products and services when you have a real strategy in place to help you get there. Yep. Now, there have been so many added on reports and features on social media. How can entrepreneurs be using these reports and analytics to help them grow their business?
Sure. So a lot of the social media, or all of the social media tools rather, have built-in analytics. Coming from a social media agency owner, I do not like the analytics that come pre-built into the platforms, but for the sake of other entrepreneurs where social media might not be their expertise, it will give them enough information to kind of get by. So numbers that they should be focusing on are the profile clicks, the email clicks, and profile visits. So yes, engagement is an important factor, especially depending on your industry. If you're in retail or something, you might want to focus on likes and engagement. But for the most part, that's not, again, what's going to get you money in the bank. So you want to make sure that the people that are coming to your site are finding you through hashtags or on the explore page or whatnot. And then from there, either clicking onto your website or clicking your email, because that's showing that they have interest in your services, they have interest in your products, and they have interest in potentially working with you. So if you click into, on the Instagram app, if you click into analytics, there'll actually be a section that will show you profile visits. It'll show you email clicks. It'll show you call clicks if you have a call button. And it'll show you the website visits. Another great analytic tool that they can look at is Google Analytics, which is free. If they have Google Analytics installed on their website, they can find referral traffic and see how many people are coming from which social media channel to their website. And then from there, they'll be able to focus their efforts on the channel that's obviously producing the most amount of referral traffic.
I love that you mentioned Google Analytics and seeing which platform is actually bringing in the most traffic and activity, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we feel like we need to show up on any and every platform.
Yeah. Yep.
So how do we narrow down? I mean, I know this goes back to who are you serving, but how can a new business owner kind of narrow down where they're going to spend their efforts first if they don't have the reports yet? What can they do?
Yeah, so definitely to your target audience, I always recommend when you're first starting out to just focus on one platform. Everyone, like you said, feels like the second they start a business, they need a website and they need a newsletter and they need a blog and they need to be everywhere. That's hard to do when you're just starting. So pick a platform where you feel like your audience is going to be hanging out most. Focus on that one platform, and then once you get really good at that platform, you can kind of start to expand, and then you can leverage your audience on that platform to drive traffic to your other platforms. So for me personally, I started on Instagram. It was what worked for me. It's where I figured the majority of my business was by doing research, by looking at competitors. I saw that a lot of my competitors were mostly on Instagram, so that told me something. And then now I leverage my Instagram to promote my Pinterest and to promote my Facebook. So I'll tell my Instagram followers to go over there. And I notice that a lot of my followers from my Instagram will end up following my other social platforms. So it's kind of a good way to cross promote.
I love it. And I know you mentioned Pinterest, which is one of my favorite platforms to show up on. Now, is there an underrated platform that can actually get a lot of traffic or really help people to get exposure to their business? Is there a platform that people sometimes overlook?
Pinterest, actually. Yeah, Pinterest is one of the top social media channels to give you the highest amount of referral traffic and the highest amount of conversions. Pinterest is such a driver. And for people that are on Pinterest, of course, they already see the potential. But a lot of people think that if they don't have pretty pictures to post, if they don't have pretty clothes to post, that Pinterest might not be a good driver for them. But it actually 100% is. Pinterest is such a good platform to give away free resources, checklists, templates. And if you join group boards, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with group boards on Pinterest, but Pinterest has so many group boards, which just give you so much extra exposure because a lot of these group and collaborative boards have over 150,000 members a part of them. And so that's giving you 150,000 chances to possibly convert these people into a customer.
Yeah, I love it. I know when I got into tribes, at first I thought it was like a joke. I was kind of like, okay, what is this tribe thing? Why aren't we commenting? Why aren't we liking things?
Yeah.
And I realized it's like almost like a Google search. It's like a search engine.
Pinterest is a search engine.
Mm-hmm. And people get on and they're searching for specific things. And so if you can show up and provide that value to them, so powerful. And I think that is a very underrated platform. I wish more people jumped on it, but I actually kind of like that it's our little secret.
Yeah. A lot of people don't see the potential of Pinterest because they don't realize that it is like Google. And much like your website needs to be SEO optimized, your Pinterest content does as well. And your Pinterest, if you are optimizing your captions and you're using targeted keywords in your captions, your content piece is going to get found when people search it. And it's like a Google, but way less competitive than Google. So it's easier to get found, which is nice.
I love it. I've been loving our conversation today. I love talking about social media and all different platforms. So there are so many experts out there or claim to be experts out there, and it really can create a lot of noise for the customer. How can people start to show up authentically on social media so that they can kind of push through the noise that is currently out there on social media, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but how can people kind of push through the noise and be able to show their services and really show that they might be an expert in something?
That's a good question. One, I would say build up your personal brand. Because a business page doesn't show you personally and you don't really know who's behind that business page, it's hard for people to choose one business over another. Whereas if you were to promote your products and services on your personal page and show up in a personal manner and build your personal brand, it's a lot easier for someone to choose because they feel like, wow, I really connect with this person. And they'll choose to want to work with someone if they have maybe common interests or if they feel like maybe they have a common work history or whatever it may be. Something else is that if you are narrowing down your products and services, only choose a few. Be an expert in maybe one, maybe two. I see some people who are social media managers and the photographers and their branding agencies and their logo designers and their graphic designers. And it's like, okay, I mean, not to say that some people can't do it all. Some people can definitely do it all, but find one or two services so that you can actually be an expert in those services and get really, really known for those one or two services. And then once you convert your audience into an actual follower, then you can say, hey, like if you need any logo design help, let me know. I actually do that too. And kind of keep that off of your promotion, but only keep your promotion to just one or two. And then lastly, provide nonstop value. I tell all of my clients to be educational and to give free tips and to give freebies as much as they possibly can, because that not only is it nice and it's a good way to convert people because you'll get their email address and whatnot, but it also just shows that you know your stuff. You know, if you're giving nonstop tips and all of your captions on your posts are really long and really detailed and people are actually walking away with something after reading that, then they're going to be like, wow, this girl really knows her stuff. I want to work with her.
So true. And providing that value and being able to show up for people is so powerful. It helps people to connect, like you said. Now, 2020 is right around the corner, which is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there probably are going to be some awesome changes to social media, but do you foresee any changes happening, any major changes for small businesses when it comes to social media in the future?
The only thing that I think that I sort of know of that would be coming up is them getting rid of the likes and engagement tracker on your photos, which for businesses won't really make the biggest deal. For influencers, it will. But I do think that social media is changing, like I mentioned earlier, just in the respect that people are showing up a lot more authentically. And I think that that's going to continue to be a trend. I think this perfect lifestyle and everything being perfect is going to slowly go away. And I think that more and more people are going to start to show up really, really authentically. Even influencers are starting to do it where they'll show up without makeup on, or they'll actually show you what it looks like when they're getting ready, or they're starting to do this Instagram versus reality thing where they're showing the actual reality of their day along with their planned out outfits and whatnot. So I think for businesses, we can just monetize that. We can start showing up even more authentically, showing behind the scenes of your workday, showing the not so glamorous days in the office. If you happen to spill coffee all over your laptop, take a picture of it, be like, look what just happened to me, because people can relate to it. And so I think that that's just going to continue to be a trend. Unfortunately, as far as the Instagram algorithm goes, which is a nonstop question I get on the daily, Instagram released the last time around that they were no longer going to let us know when Instagram algorithm changes were coming. And that happened the last time around. No one really knew, and there's really no information on what had happened. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but everybody has been seeing a huge decrease in their engagement lately. And that's because a new algorithm change that Instagram had released, or I should say had implemented, but they didn't really release any information on it. So I think Instagram is going to keep implementing these random crazy algorithms, and unfortunately we're not really going to be able to do much about it other than just show up authentically, provide nonstop value, and educate your audience.
I totally agree. And yeah, not knowing the algorithm, it's just, it's one of those things where it's like all we could do is just keep going.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people freak out because they're always wondering, should I go the ad route? Will that help to beat the algorithm? Or can I just show up authentically on my platform, whether that be a business or a personal brand? Can I just show up there without having to invest in all these ads? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is 100% possible to grow your account organically and to find clients and increase your revenue organically. Do ads help? Absolutely. Do I think that ads are worth the investment? Absolutely. They can be pricey, but when you know your audience and you know who you're targeting, when you're doing Facebook ads and Instagram ads, you can tailor your ads to be shown only to this one particular audience, which is your exact audience. You're going to see high conversion rates, and you're probably going to convert more than half of the people that are seeing your ad because you are speaking directly to them. But on the organic front, you definitely can grow your account organically. It's not impossible. It depends on your business goals. If you have a certain revenue target that you're trying to hit by 2020, which is only in 4 months, I would probably recommend you to implement ads because it's a lot faster. You can reach your target audience much, much quicker by doing paid ads. Doing organic social just takes a bit longer, and it requires patience. A lot of people want that conversion right away, and it's not social media. Social media was a platform that was intended to be used in a social manner, and we kind of took over and started using social media as a business platform, which is totally fine. It works. We saw an opportunity and we went for it. It just takes a bit longer to grow your account and to find those clients organically, but it's 100% possible.
And I love what you mentioned earlier too, Chloe. You mentioned that when you were just getting started into entrepreneurship, you were DMing people. So that's like another option. If someone does not have the budget to necessarily spend on an ad or whatnot, get into DM just like what Chloe did, because that could possibly help you to start making those connections with those people you're trying to connect with. It takes time though, but it does help.
And there's definitely a strategy to it, because you don't want to be spammy. You don't want to just go gung-ho with your products and services and throw them in people's faces, not knowing if they even want it. There's a strategy behind social selling, but it's actually a really, really effective way to get people to learn about your products and services. I'm all about giving away stuff for free. It works. It works for me, and it works for so many other industries. So when I was doing my DMing and my outreaches, I was offering a free social media audit. And it was a very, very simple, short, sweet message that basically just said that I was offering free social media audits for the month of August. And if you're interested, please let me know. And then from there, after I put together the audits, I would present them. And then they almost always converted into a customer because they saw the value that I was providing, and they saw that I knew all about social media, obviously, and they felt confident in my experience.
I love that. You provided value, and then that allowed them to decide if they wanted to move forward. So that is exactly what I want more people to do versus just asking for a sale without providing value. So it's so important. Yeah. Now, Chloe, what piece of advice would you give to a new entrepreneur who's just getting started in their business and getting started with social media? What advice would you give to them?
Build your personal brand. 100% start by building your personal brand. Don't even say that you have services out there yet. Don't even say you have products out there yet. Just start providing nonstop value. Educate your audience and show up every single day. Focus on making friends. Focus on making connections, making real connections. And then after you have started to build your personal brand and kind of started to build up that presence, then you can slowly start to bring in promotions on your services or your free offers or freebies or whatever you have. But number one rule, start by building your personal brand. Number two rule, kind of to piggyback on the personal brand, is to optimize your bio. Make sure people are able to quickly read. We don't have a lot of space in that bio area. So make sure that people are able to pick up how you help and who you help within the first 3 seconds of reading your bio.
That's so true. Oh, that is very true. And I love that you shared that. Building that personal brand first is so important, because I think we get caught up with like, okay, I'm going to hurry up and make a business account and everyone's going to flock to it. So building that personal brand, best advice I've heard.
And personal brands get just as it is because it's people connecting to people opposed to trying to connect to a business. Your brand exposure, your engagement rates, your follower count, all of that is going to be faster than a business page.
Absolutely. Well, Chloe, I have absolutely enjoyed having you on the Corporate Misfit podcast. Can you share how we can stay connected with you and learn more about your services?
Yes, absolutely. You can visit my website at www.heartmedia.org, or you can find me on Instagram at heartmedia_org.
Thank you so much. I cannot wait for our listeners to learn all your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Corporate Misfits, I hope you enjoyed today's Wednesday strategy session with Chloe. Now, make sure you subscribe and also leave a comment letting me know what social media platform that you are showing up on within your personal brand and also within your business. I cannot wait to see you on some of our upcoming episodes. We have our Friday feature where we chat with female entrepreneurs to hear how they started their own business. And also we have our upcoming Monday Misfit Mindset and Motivation episode where we're chatting all about how you can succeed as an entrepreneur and overcome some of those roadblocks that sometimes can stop us along the way. All right, I can't wait to chat with you soon.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.